Okay, all we gotta do is capture this point. Alright, got the point. Come on, team. Push this payload, man. We gotta do it. We got this, man.
Is this all you do all day? Play this love child of TF2 and Lord of the Rings?
Again, this isn't a clone of Overwatch.
I didn't say Overwatch.
Oh.
Funny, I know that because I prefer D&D.
D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons, you pleb.
Whoa! Well, game's over. I won. Alright, next animal. Fleas. Now, the flea is an animal most people don't want to understand, and can you blame them? I mean, who wants to get to know a blood-sucking parasite? However, there are more to these animals than meets the eye. I think I should go over what a flea is. I mean, after all, it is good to know your enemy, right? So let's take a journey into understanding the flea. For those looking for a way to get rid of fleas, I'll tell you that later. But for now, I think it would be more appropriate to tell you about flea evolution and why they aren't going away anytime soon. You see, fleas are quite an ancient animal as they first evolved in the early Cretaceous period. That means that the flea has been around bothering avian dinosaurs and non-avian dinosaurs, plus they have been bothering our ancestors as well. In fact, there's a fossil that proves my claim. Meet the extinct animal Saurophytherus exquisitus. This animal was quite primitive for the time as its mouth was a mixture between those parasites whose hosts were dinosaurs to the parasites whose hosts were small birds and mammals. The animal I just described is in the paper New Transitional Fleas from China, highlighting the diversity of early Cretaceous ectoparasitic insect. Now, fleas are actually an entire order, known as Siphonoptera. Within this order are 4 suborders. Their names are long and hard to pronounce, so I'll just leave them up here for you. Just wait a couple seconds. There are 2,500 flea species, and each and every one of them is a parasite, none redeemable, all evil. There are plenty of famous, or infamous if you want to be more specific, flea species, like the dog flea, the cat flea, the oriental rat flea, and the jigger flea. Now, when it comes to which animal the flea should enjoy for dinner, most aren't picky. For example, a dog flea may have some specialization for dogs, but they are also willing to drink the blood of humans. Now, while most fleas are able to go around and switch hosts for food, some species do rely on a host species for other aspects. Take the rabbit flea, for example. You see, the rabbit flea depends on the rabbit for its reproduction. When a female rabbit gets pregnant, she releases hormones which trigger the ovulation of the rabbit flea, leading them to mate. Kinda sad to see that your children will be cursed with the same fate you have. The mating ritual of the rabbit flea is laid out in the article The Reproductive Biology of the Rabbit Flea, Spilocylus cuniculi, Dale, and the Dependence of the Species upon the Breeding of its Host. I will leave it down below for you to check it out. Oh, but since I brought up reproduction, fleas go through a type of reproduction known as holometabolism. This is actually one of the most common forms of metamorphosis in insects. Think of it as your average Pokemon evolution, Weedle to Kakuna to Beedrill. The flea starts out as a little egg. Now, how many eggs a female lays not only depends on the species, but also the amount of eggs it laid before. So a flea could lay only 100 eggs, or it could lay up to 1,000 eggs at a time. Where the egg is laid depends on the species as well. Some fleas would rather lay their eggs in things like dirt and crevices, while other fleas would rather lay their eggs either near their host or somewhere where their host commonly is found. Next up is the larval stage. Now, flea larvae are willing to eat anything organic, dead animals, eggs, plants, and a little bit of blood. And as if they were my spirit animal, the flea larva hates sunlight and would rather live in dark areas. When the time comes, the larva will become a pupa. While in this cocoon, the flea will begin to grow. However, when the flea comes out of the pupa depends on the conditions of the environment. For example, if the right host comes around, the fleas will emerge from their pupa early. When the conditions are bad, however, they will stay in their bubble a little bit longer. Now, the adult flea spends most of its life eating and having sex. Boy, I wish my life was that easy. However, grabbing onto a host isn't easy, so let's go over how a flea is able to move so quickly. You see, if a human like me wants to jump even higher, I won't have to do a lot of squats constantly, consistently, perfectly, and even then, I won't be able to jump super high for a long time. Fleas, however, get their high jump at birth, and they don't have to do any squats at all. So let's go over the anatomy that enables the flea to jump so high. Let me put it like this. If there was a human with the jumping power of a flea, that human would be able to jump over the Empire State Building with ease. Now, as you can see, the flea doesn't start its jump with its knees like we do, but with its foot. But how do fleas jump so high? Well, it's thanks to these muscles attached to wrestling pads that help the flea store energy. For those who don't know, wrestling is a very elastic protein that enable the flea to jump. Fleas also have evolved a mechanism that makes sure that the flea doesn't jump prematurely, ruining the jump. If I had to describe the flea's muscles, it would be something like a bow and arrow. An article called How Fleas Jumps explains this in more detail. I'll leave a link to that below. Fleas aren't easy to kill either. Fleas have flat bodies, which make it harder for any animal to crush it. Add to the fact that fleas also have really unique armor. Look at this flea picture, and you'll see these little plates. These plates, also known as sclerites, not only protect the flea from our own death grips and the cat's crushing teeth, but also protect the flea from fall damage. Well, onto fleas and humans. Now let's start with the positives of the flea-human relationship. Flea circuses! Yup, you heard that right. A circus starring little parasites. Now there are two types of flea circuses, one with live fleas and others with mechanical fleas. For the live flea show, people will tie a wire around the flea's neck so that it can't jump away. This then allows people to do many tricks with fleas, making the flea the smallest and strangest performance animal of all. Fleas are also a pain in the ass, as they did spread things like the bubonic plague in Europe those many years ago, and can cause other diseases. Even if you don't catch a disease from a flea, you are going to get itchy and irritated skin. The worst, however, is the jigger flea. I am warning you, if you are eating, stop now. In fact, if you can't pause this, I'll wait until you're done digesting your food. Okay, I warned you. This is the result of the jigger fleas. This is just gross. I haven't eaten yet and I want to throw up looking at it. Now that I showed you some of the grosser things about fleas, here's how to get rid of them. Here are some awesome ways to get rid of fleas. Flea shampoo, fogging, an exterminator, flea tablets, vacuuming, washing your sheets, and if you're real and have nothing to live for, burn your own house down. Though most people wouldn't recommend that solution. Fleas are quite the parasite, seeing as they can annoy humans yet they enjoy watching them jump. Fleas are quite interesting if you ask me. Well, there's not much to this conclusion. Well, I'm MetaZ, and remember, I don't always have something to remind you of. Well, this is here to tell you that you should like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I also have a Facebook and Twitter if you want to follow those as well. Alright, that's pretty much it. See ya.